All right, guys, welcome back. So we can pick this up, and one thing I want to show you guys is that if I go into BP master item, if I click on the box, the collision box, and I change the rendering to visible in game, basically turn off hidden in game, you'll be able to see that there's a collision box even before I pick it up, and there's a collision box even after I pick it up, which is wonderful stuff. Now, you have to understand that this BP master item, BP chair, and BP pillar have different relationships than a master and an instance. So usually what we're used to, what I've already taught you guys, is that there's a master blueprint, okay, with this event graph, I mean, whatever, the 3 bits, right, the viewport, the event graph, and the construction script, and then you create instances out of these, right, instance 1, instance 2, and so on and so forth. These are all children. Right? And I'll show you how to make instances. So basically, if I drag these out, these are all instances. Instance 1, instance 2, instance 3. But this, what we did when creating BP chair and BP pillar, where we right-clicked and clicked on create child blueprint class, that is not a master and instance relationship. That is a master blueprint and a child blueprint relationship. So to kind of make this a little more complicated, it's basically you've got the master, and now you got a child blueprint. In fact, we've got multiple child blueprints. This is a chair. This is a pillar. Right? And these can have instances of their own. Right? So you can have I1, I2, and I'll show you how that's done in Unreal. It's just, I can drag more chairs into this, or more pillars into this. I'm just going to delete all of these. Right? So I just wanted to make that aware. Even though the concept in play is inheritance, it's a slightly different kind of inheritance where you are inheriting the master item into multiple different child blueprints rather than just being instance variables. So I want to make that very, very clear. All right, so now moving on, what I want to do is I want the player to be able to pick this up, and then when he slams it at this guy, the enemy intelligence guy, we want something to happen, maybe this guy to take some damage. So what we need to do, and one thing I want to kind of teach you guys again, is the idea that, or rather I want to correct your idea of how coding happens. You see, our teachers, especially in India, are used to the idea, or have taught you the idea, that if you want to perform something, or if there's a question, then there is only one answer to that question. Right? And it's the answer that they give you, and if you don't put that answer in the answer sheet, then you're going to get 0, right? Because they don't have the energy or the understanding to be able to, read through your entire answer and figure it out and see if it makes sense. But in the real world, and especially in Unreal Engine, in any coding language, you can accomplish the same thing in multiple different ways, right? And as long as it works, and it works in a performant way, then you shouldn't have to worry so much about whether your answer is the right answer or not. It's just, if it works here, if the solution is met, then things should be good enough. To give you, or to illustrate that, we've already kind of done that. So if I go to my third person character, I'm going to open this for a second, and I'm going to open our fire starter, one of our earliest blueprints, for a second. Now you see that there is an overlap event in this, which is event actor begin overlap in the fire starter. There's a fire spawner. And here, in the third person character, there's an overlap happening here on the left collision, right? And this happens on event tick, right? Now, you have to understand that even though we've done, this is an overlap, and this is also an overlap. It's being done through 2 different mechanisms. Here, it's being done in the object blueprint, and here it's being done in the third person character blueprint, right? Now, generally, it's not a very good idea to do stuff in the third person character blueprint unless it has to do directly with the third person character and some action or influence of his. And if it's not an action or influence of his, then you move it to the object blueprint, right? So, but either way, you could have performed this entire action by just on every event tick, just pressing an if on whether he's actually touching the fire spawner. So you could have done it from here, but we prefer to do it from here because it's a little cleaner. The goal is to keep your third person character blueprint as lean as possible. So we're going to do the same thing. And instead of us writing any code in the third person character, we're going to write code in this enemy character instead. So I'm just going to open the enemy character, enemy intelligence. And as you can see, there's nothing in the event graph of the enemy intelligence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the capsule component. I'm going to right click, add event on component begin overlap. So I'm going to check for an overlap on the main component. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to check the other actor. I'm going to cast to BP master item. Now I could have obviously done a if and checked if the other actor is a master item, but casting is actually a one-shot way to not just go to the master item and access this blueprint, but also to do an if. It also doubles as an if condition. If this passes, if the cast succeeds, and the other actor that it collides with is indeed a master item, then your if condition, it's basically like a simple check whether the collision is with a master item. So the other actor of on component begin overlap is basically what actor is interacting with the capsule component, and the capsule component of this enemy intelligence is this thing. So if you come in contact with this thing, and the other actor that it comes in contact with is a master item, then for now let's print a string. Connected, right? Just simple stuff. I'm going to save. I'm going to press play. Now this should work. As you can see, connected, and obviously if I touch it, okay, it's beautiful. So it's working as intended. Now one thing I want to do is I don't want to, obviously we don't want the chair to deal damage if it's just touching. We want to make sure that it should be touching during the punch peak zone. Right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of in the third person character, what I'm going to do is I'm going to check for the is punch peak zone, and surprisingly in the enemy intelligence these two variables have been created because we just copied the blueprint. So I'm going to delete these. Delete. This happened when we copied the third person character to the enemy intelligence. But either way, what I'm going to do is I am going to cast to third person character, and you guys are familiar, should be familiar with this by now. I'm going to get player character, and this get player character you can do from any blueprint, right? That's the cool part. So you can get the player from wherever, and as the third person character I'm going to check, I'm going to get the value of is smashing, right? Now if this is smashing, and I'm going to branch, see if it's true. If it is indeed true, right, then we do all of this, right? So it's not going to happen arbitrarily. It's only going to happen if we are smashing. So now it shouldn't show connected, but if I slam him, then it should show connected. And it's showing it multiple times because the box is going out of bounds and then coming back. So that's beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. So one thing I want to do is I want to set, I want to make sure that this happens just once, right? I don't want to, run this entire thing forever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a if condition. I'm going to create a new variable. I'm going to call this has taken damage. Okay. And what I'm going to do is the default value I'm going to set as false. I'm going to do an if condition on this. Right. So we'll make sure that per swing he can only take damage once, essentially. That's what I'm trying to do. Right. If he's not taken damage, which means if this is false, okay, then you do all of this, and then once this is done, then we are going to set, let's do this, set has taken damage to be true. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a short delay so that it doesn't get triggered again. So maybe 1 second. Actually, what is the length of the animation, the total animation? It's about 1.667. Okay. So we'll say that you can only take damage once every 1.667 seconds. It should work. Okay. Connected. Actually, we set that as false, and sorry, true. He's taken damage, and then I'm going to set has taken damage to be false. All right, just resetting that in the ending. So it's connected, 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 perfect. Cool. So just giving it a little bit of a breather before he can take damage again. Otherwise, you'll have the same shot triggering damage 3 or 4 times. Now there's another node that can kind of simplify this entire thing, what we did here along with the if. It's called the do once node, right? Do once node, and you could kind of reset it after 1.667 seconds. So you can actually just do this and go here, and then once this delay is done, you could have actually just done reset without the need of any variable. But I wanted to show you how to do it the long way. So things that you repeat a lot in Unreal, they've kind of given you nodes for. So you guys, let it be homework. It's a very, very simple node to use. You needn't have created this new variable using that node, but you guys are familiar with this, so this should be perfect. In the next episode, we'll look at actually dealing damage to this player character, the enemy intelligence, and also maybe having him play an animation. All right, guys, catch you in the next episode.